Hi, and welcome to FPL IQ. We're going to just jump in, Ryan, before we start. I thought I forgot
Hello.
something. I thought you were going to say something. I thought I forgot something. Maybe you reminded me to make sure we're not muted, but I did do that.
Yeah, no,
I did, don't worry. But welcome to another FPL IQ. We're back. That means we've got things that we want to talk about. And prepare for my daughter to be in and out of this. She's actually a bit sick today. Oh, have you finished? Look at that. She's finished most of her milk. Good job. Well done. But we're here today. Just a very quick chat on how player prices might affect like buying certain players or capturing certain players. I really thought about this more with the Cole Palmer thing. We thought about this before anyway. Then have a look at some chip usages and top 10k template teams. Fixtures. We've got a chart that Tien sent me, that Mira, who's in the chat. Hi, Mira, who's been on the show a couple times before. A little chart she's made about like players to think about for the up and coming free hit. We do have a free hit draft as well as chatting about players who we're looking to maybe keep as a non-free hit FPL manager, and we've got just tables that we can flick towards things like expected goals conceded and defending and attacking stats. But before we get into that, let's just go around the FPL IQ square. We'll start with you, Ryan. How you doing, buddy?
Good. It's a good day. As I guess a United fan taking every single positives to see both City and Arsenal just crumble out, and I'm just laughing. And then I saw the quote from Pep Guardiola about Haaland and KDB asking to come off, and I was like, I can never take these players seriously anymore. If I ever see Haaland and KDB in like the greatest midfielders or greatest forwards conversation anymore, I will not take that conversation seriously. I feel like a greatest player would go through any pain to get their team over, and these guys just like folded it.
Well,
I was like, yeah. No.
You can also think of it from a positive of like, look, I am gassed. I am not going to contribute anything more to this game. We have fantastic players on the bench who are better than me right now. But I can get the Haaland one because he was off at like 90 minutes. But Kevin De Bruyne got 112 minutes, and he's sort of known. He's not exactly a 120-minute engine on him, right? I don't think anyone's ever felt that about him. But definitely Haaland is like,
yeah, Haaland. I mean, like. You did nothing for 2 legs, literally. Got pocketed by Rudiger.
Well, I saw a stat, wasn't it? He scored 6 goals against Luton and 6 goals against teams not called Luton in 2024. So
I saw another stat where
go on.
he was dispossessed more times than he had passes over the 2 legs.
So, but you just know exactly what's going to happen. I can't. But so. For those that don't know, I don't have Haaland at all, so I didn't even captain him. And if the whole Foden leaks, which we can maybe chat about later, but there's not really a lot we can do about that now, about the whole leak mistake. But that brought me to being Foden. And my original plan, I was just going to do Darwin to Haaland and Son to Gordon, which would have been absolute bank, because I would have captained Haaland as well. But unfortunately, I still came away with a tiny, tiny green arrow despite captaining Salah. But Haaland punishes, and that just feels like it sums up my season. Like, he gets a penalty and an assist from a shot that was going for like a throw-in, and he gets an assist for it. But you just know that this weekend he's probably going to go and score like 4 goals and then punish everyone who doesn't own him. But he's not been on it, I think, since his foot injury.
I guess the one good thing that came out of the Champions League stuff is that we don't have to think or preempt any potential rotation and whatnot, because like there's nothing left to rotate for, to be honest.
They have the FA Cup, but surely the that's why I called it Euro Agony League Priority, right? Like but never count Pep out for just a rotation, because next game he might say, well, Haaland, I'm not playing him. They're tired, so I'll give them a full rest then, if that's how they want to be. You know, you don't know. Like, it's difficult. I think with these guys. Tien, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. You know what's the best thing about this weekend is there won't be any city leagues. That's for sure. So they won't play until like Friday morning our time or something. So look like people will have to guess who's gonna start and who's not gonna be benched, which is great, because that's what FPL is all about. Like, I'm just sick of all these team leagues and stuff that's completely ruined the game. And yeah, the breaking news just come through as well. Like the FA Cup changes next season. So initially I thought, oh, is there going to be more blind and double? But no, it's actually it's going to be a lot fewer blind and doubles next season. So it'll be interesting to see how FPL is going to be like, because people have to be thinking about cheap and strategies in a different way, more pure, I think.
Yeah, I think some big. Well, this is it. This is the final push. Is it 2 double game weeks we're gonna get? No, 3.
3.
35 is like the smaller one, right? And then a bigger one for 37. So this is it. This is sort of the big finale. This is where you got to make your gains, maybe make some risks, which is what I've tried to do since like my Game Week 31 wildcard, and I'm still pretty much where I was before. So how are you doing, Lucian? Welcome back after being flagged before.
Yeah, I know, right? It's been tough managing sleep really, because exam season is coming about. So is yeah, whatever. But the day job is not of the concern. I think um it's just been difficult finding the word is inspiration. And for me, in all of this, dumpster fires, amid all the dumpster fires going on, I actually have found the mechanics of the FPL challenge, right? Like we've talked about it one week and we've not talked about it anymore. But I am reveling in the fact that the management of the deadlines in terms of players have gone really smoothly. I think the way that the game has segregated the multiple deadlines across the single game week has gone without a hitch. And even though some people have figured out some loopholes around the system, I think it's great. I think that particular loophole where you intentionally buy players that play early in the game week, you sit them on your bench, and if they do well, you make transfers within your squad so that you buy red flagged players and then you auto sub them in. I think it's great. You bring in a new dimension of game that utilizes your bench, and I'm all for it. I'm just really glad the mechanics of implementing these deadlines will, at least for me, reward the engaged manager in a much more direct way rather than having to be part of a niche circle that relies on leaks and whatever, right? So if you can manipulate the deadline to be off the first minute of the match itself, who cares about leaks? You'll get the team sheet an hour before. And that's where we want to be actually engaged, to be present an hour before the game, to see the team sheets and to, make decisions based on actual known information. I like that.
Except when your bench has got 2 out of 3 flags. Still, Richard is out, so I've got to transfer him out, but Semenya's still unknown, and he was my double game week player as well. 2 of my players are out at the minute. One definitely, Richards looks out, but hey ho. Let's go on to just a quick point I wanted to talk. This is mainly because it's another Cole Palmer masterclass. At home, this man is absolutely unstoppable. Why have we not captained him? A lot, I think, did against Sheffield United. But we're not captaining against United when we talked about like how bad they are and why Salah was a great choice. We're not captained him against Everton. We didn't captain him against Burnley or Newcastle, both with terrible defensive records. Wolves at home was okay, I guess. Fulham, Luton away. That's an away game where he smashed it. I'm just wondering if sometimes prices is what actually gets into our heads, similar even with a team. So for example, a lot of people have quite like Luis Diaz. I have Luis Diaz in my side, and I will just automatically, despite form but with his history, I'll just captain Mo Salah. And I'm just wondering what you guys thought about maybe not bringing players in, but definitely more about the captaincy side. What does the price sort of, do you think that does maybe even subconsciously affect your captaincy decision? Because I didn't even contemplate, maybe because I believed a little bit too much in Everton's defence, but I've not contemplated Cole Palmer as really a captaincy option, because we've always had Haaland, Salah, Son and Saka. And actually those are players that are not in form right now. And at the start of seasons, I've said before about we all get 100 million, right? And it always feels like every single squad I see is like 99.9 million. Like, I rarely see people with like a 97 million or a 95 million team at the start of the season, because it's like, it's just in our heads that we must spend every single penny. And when you've got a player that is now worth, what is he, 6.1, I think he is now? 6.2 million, and you sat there with a player like literally double his price. Do you think it is? Because I think probably subconsciously, yes. Part of me thinks Chelsea, which we've talked about trust before. I don't trust a Chelsea team as much as I trust a Liverpool team or a Man City team. But I think it is affecting, and I wonder if there's a way that we can stop that. Because at the start of the season, he's got the price where he was a Manchester City player, right? And then he got his transfer to Chelsea, and then he's like a key player. But you couldn't blame FPL for pricing him like that at the start of the season, because he was a Manchester City bench option, right? But I just wonder what you guys thought about player prices affecting your decisions, either to buy a player or to captain a player. So if you want to start, Ryan, go in that order.
Yeah, well, for me, I don't know if, because I've captained Palmer before, so I captained him the week before, and I've just while you've been talking, I've been going through like my previous captaincies, and I've captained him in game week 21 as well, where he played Fulham. So I have captained Palmer before. For me, well, let's just talk about like the last couple of game weeks where he kind of like did well. And the people I captained was, now last week obviously I went for Haaland because it was against Luton, so kind of made sense. And I can't, to be honest, yes, Chelsea scored 6 against Everton, but if you had told me that Chelsea would score 6 against Everton before the game started, I would have been like, you're bluffing. Because I would have thought Everton would have done significantly better than what they did, and I wouldn't have expected Chelsea to score 6 based on their form as well. Then, obviously, 32, we won here. We did a whole FPL therapy session, and I was like, yeah, I'll probably captain Palmer, and I did. It didn't pay off, unfortunately, but it is what it is. 31, I captained Salah, who was playing Sheffield United. That was a pure fixture move. Not because of the price tag, but purely fixture move. Palmer was playing United. Based on both United and Chelsea's form, I was not going to even think about captaining Palmer at that point. Because I wasn't sure what would happen in that game. And then game week 30, I captained Son against Luton, where Palmer had Burnley. Maybe that was a bit more of a closer one, I could say. But then again, it was Son against Luton. I think Son was at home as well. So generally, like Spurs at home tend to do a bit better. Luton had to go for it. So the fixture made sense. And I guess it did work out. There wasn't too much. Palmer did outscore Son.
5
but
points,
it kind of worked out. Yeah, by 5 points. So it's not too much of a difference. Obviously, last week he scored 26 points, which is insane. But looking back at it, it looks insane. But before the game, I would have never thought he would score like 26 points because of the fixture and how Everton used to defend before that.
Yeah, and it's straight. Palmer's on my bench at the minute, but I don't think I'm going to waste a transfer on Semenyo, because the way that Palmer is right now, and the way that I think most free hit people won't have Palmer for this week because he's got a single game week away at Arsenal. I'm thinking if Semenyo's out, fine, I'll have Palmer. Yeah, he's away, he's against Arsenal, but it's just one of them where it's one of those things where Arsenal's just had a couple of demoralising defeats and they're tired, and a fresh Palmer in the form that he's in, he's probably going to end up scoring and be sat on my bench.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I mean, Chelsea have been getting a lot of penalties recently as well, which has been very interesting. So he could actually end up with a penalty and score. I won't be very surprised. And based on like Arsenal's current mood, we don't know what Arsenal is going to turn up as well at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad choice to just have Palmer come off the bench.
But because I've got Foden as well, right? And part away at Brighton, and I'm thinking of just done 120 minutes and got knocked out on pens. I'm half thinking of just dropping Foden and starting Palmer. And having Foden as the bench guy.
I think one thing we have to keep in mind is both Chelsea and City, they play an FA Cup semi-final against each other. So we don't know what will happen in that before they play the Premier League games respectively. So that's just one thing I guess we want to keep in mind. But honestly, if you're not free hitting and you have these players, it's not the worst thing to have them coming off the bench or whatever for a player who's not playing.
Tim, what are your thoughts? Do you think prices affect you?
Yeah, I've got to admit that it does. It does in a big way, especially captaincy, because I think you just got to be careful with some recency bias, cause just because Palmer has been doing really well this season, um, and then it's a trend or anything. It could just be an one-off event. He's been getting so many penalties as well, and obviously no one would have expected that result against Everton, because you would have thought Everton is pretty solid defensive unit, right? So you may think, oh, maybe 1-0 or 2-0, but yeah, 6-0 is impossible. And if you go back in the past where you got things like people captaining, was that Harvards again? Harvards again? Was that Luton? Or Norwich, or some a very
Oh,
weak
Norwich.
fixture,
Yeah,
Norwich,
long
right?
time ago.
And
Yes.
then
This
and
was
then Salah
Chelsea's
was
Kai
again,
Havertz, by the
Yes.
way.
Yes. Chelsea
yeah,
Kai
or
Havertz.
Chelsea Harvards, and Salah was again Man United, and look what happened. Like, so I think it's like historically, um, with captaincy, I generally will give it to a premium player against a very weak team. That's the formula that I always follow, and yep, obviously recently the results haven't been going well, but actually, I mean, Salah got a pen a couple of weeks ago, and Haaland got a pen last game week, so it's not disastrous, right? Um, but yeah, I think we just got to see Palmer as an outlier more than the norm. Um, Now, in terms of buying players, it does impact me as well, but I think to a slightly lesser extent. In terms of if I choose between two players, I don't automatically go for the more expensive player just because they're more expensive. So there's a lot more sort of considerations go into that. Uh, then on the other hand, I would try to generally keep a team structure with various price points, so that it just be a bit more flexible moving forward, right? Because it's very easy to say, okay, well, Palmer's doing well, Gordon's doing well, Isaac and Cunha and Mateta are doing well, let's just get rid of all the premiums and get all of those players in. It may work in one game week, and then the next 2 or 3 game weeks the premiums, they come back into form, and then you'll be completely destroyed. So I think still keeping a good overall structure is important, and I think the formula for me is gonna be premium players for captaincies in there, in the easy fixture. If in a week where Haaland and the City and Arsenal playing each other, or City and Liverpool playing each other, for example, then of course Palmer with a very easy fixture, you could consider. But I would never thought about captaining Palmer when Haaland is playing Luton at home.
Yeah. It's fair. Like, it's not like we've not captain Palmer when
Sorry,
it's.
Rob, we don't hear you.
Oh, really? Hello?
Then one of those things.
Hello?
No.
Hello? Yeah.
There we are.
Gotcha.
I don't know why I did that. But yeah, it's one of those things where we've not captained Palmer when it's not like we've captained difficult captains during that time. It's like we've always not captained Palmer when other players have got like Luton or Sheffield United or Burnley or something like that. So, but yeah, I just felt about the prices maybe affecting us. Lucian, what do you think? Do you think prices affect your thinking?
Of course. I mean, that's the purpose of prices, right? I mean, prices are meant to shape what sort of team everyone is allowed to have. So yeah, I mean, we've always some people even say, right, like we begin the season not with 100 million, but with what was it, 73, 72 million, because it was compulsory to buy Haaland and Salah at the time before the season even started. So I think in that sense, for me, I think the real essence you're trying to address here is whether 0.1 million time pressured price rises dictate your behavior. Because it goes without saying, if you have a free transfer to buy a good player with decent form on penalties and multiple avenues to points, yeah, of course, by all means do that. But if that player is inaccessible, if he rises 0.1, then I think all of us would start sweating. So for me, I have a plan A for most of my transfers, and I also have a plan B because I think it goes without saying that everyone now knows that you have a conventional move that everyone will do, and then you have a move that is ahead of its time, and it's a risk. Buying Trent Alexander-Arnold this week, for example, right now that Bradley's sort of unconfirmed, but Trent still has competition in the shape of Gomez at right back. Yeah, that is technically a risky move, timed pretty well for this particular double game week, but you still have to make plans in case you want that sort of player with minimal damage. And it really comes down to how hard you want to work making those plans, because the further away you are from this particular double game week, then the more branches of um outcomes, right? You'll basically be behaving like Doctor Strange in most cases. And I think I would say, first and foremost, that yes, there are some purchasing decisions that I make that, have such fine margins that I don't have a choice. I make them early, especially, if they score a hat trick on the weekend. Yeah, I'd be definitely tempted to buy them early, because even if you buy that popular player and he was part of your plans, you're still sitting on a 0.2 million price rise, and you can exit pretty much anytime you want. I also believe that if you buy a player and he gets a short-term injury, he's probably worth holding on until he recovers anyway. Um, so yeah, that there we go. I've said it in that sense. So I hope I've provided enough context in terms of what type of price rises would affect my behavior and what type of prices I just don't care about. Like if people tell me that, oh, Palmer is 4.9, buy him. Okay, sure. I'd entertain that thought. Palmer scores, I miss out on the boat. He goes up to 5.5. Buy him. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'd buy him. And I did. I just happened to sell him. But that was a mistake. And he scores even more. He rises to 5.9. And then people are like, you don't have Cole Palmer. Buy him. Yeah, okay. I'll buy him. I'll eat my hat. And I bought him at 5.9. And he got a 20 points against Everton. But if you know you're buying a good player, price is not part of the conversation. It's just a matter of who you sacrifice in the process.
Okay, cool. So we will move on now to Tien. You want to talk about in your content and stuff that you do about like chip usage and top 10k template teams.
Yeah, sure. So, obviously, we are at the business end of the season. Only, what is it, 5 game weeks left? 3 of those are double game weeks. So I think it's important to, just take a step back and look at the state of play. Now, we've at the on the screen, we've got the chip usages in the top 10k and overall. So as you can see in the top 10k, almost everyone have either triple captain, understandably. More than 80% have played the free hit, so I am probably guessing that the remaining most of people play this week. So that's about 20% of people who play this week. There's still more than half of wildcards left. So I think if you are playing free hit this week, then they probably wildcard next week, and then you can see the bench boost is gonna be massive because most people still haven't played the bench boost. So the reason why this chart is important is because the people in the top 10k traditionally you would have thought that a lot of them have played all the chips, right? They're there because they've played all the chips. But look at this. That's not the case. So a lot of these top 10K managers will stay in the top 10Ks because they've still got a lot of chips to play. And it'll be extremely difficult to catch up, even if you've got 2 or 3 chips left. Because, like it's very hard to make any gains.
Yeah, where'd you go?
Just
Where'd you go for those games?
that's it. And like the overall chip usage, I just put it there just for reference. They obviously far less important because maybe 30% of the teams have already been given up. They've already given up and it's a dead team. But you can see that there's still a lot of wildcards to play. There's still a lot of bench boosts to play as well. So maybe just move on to the next screen as well, Rob.
Got it.
In terms of like where the what the teams look like in the top 10K. So you've got the top 10K template team at the moment. So after game week 33, this is where the most on players. And then on the right hand side, you've got the team, the sort of the average number of players per team that doubles in 34. So you've got on average 7.5 players for double game week 34 in the top 10K. As you can see that you got the Gabriel, Saliba, Aitnuri, Salah, Saka, Solanke, and Darwin. That's roughly 7 to 8 players that most people will have. And then I think a lot of people, if they don't play the free hit, they will be bringing in players, that double. So I think expect the numbers to go at least to 9 players in the top 10K, if not more. So maybe slightly more than 9. So I think that is sort of setting the scene for whatever you want to do. So obviously, if you are free hitting, I'm guessing that you'll be maximizing the double players. So you've got 11. If you're not free hitting, then yeah, at least aim for 9, I think, to stand any chance of competing with the top 10K. And I think you can extend that to the top 100K. It will be very, very similar, I think. So that's pretty much the state of play. And anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, I think it's just a good reminder that pretty much you're screwed if you want to get really, really high up. But I think I'm actually not worried about the free hit. I've said before that when I played it in 29, you've got to compare the lead up to 29, 29 itself, and then 34, right? So people might score an extra like 10 or 20 points more than me with their free hit, but I know my rank's rubbish, but look, if we're looking at this passage of play, right, where free hit 29 plus the lead up to 29 and all the hits taken and that, and then 34, if I'm behind the top end of players by like 20 points, I've actually beaten them in the whole plan part, right? I'm not worried about free hit at all, because I've already said they're not going to play the likes of Palmer. They're not going to play Man City players, right? Because they're just going to get 11 doublers. And they're going to be there with Triple Palace. We've got a free hit we're going to draft we're going to look at later. Things like Triple Palace. I was looking when I made the draft, right? And I had a look at what like expected points were and like the popular players and all that lot. And I just thought, I would still like Isaac at Palace isn't great, but I'm not like I think he can go there and get a goal. He's in absolutely fire form right now. I've already said that people are not going to play Man City players, just things like that. So I just think I'm not worried about free hit. It's the bench boost that's going to be the killer. That's the one that, because with the way prices are now, and if people are wildcarding into a bench boost, that's the one where people might beat me. But in game week 1, my score was like 105 or something using my bench boost. So my bench boost was really good anyway. But this is where it's going to prove that bench boosts, you just got to use them in doubles, because that's when you really have the highest chance. But I don't think the doubles are that great, to be honest. All doubles. I don't think any of the doubles, apart from maybe Liverpool's, is actually that good. But anyway, that's my only take on this, just the state of play. If Ryan, you have any comments for the templates and chips?
Anyone who's wanting to gain rank, you look at this template team and you go, what can I do different, but still be competitive? So, for example, for anyone making a free hit team and who's trying to gain rank, look at the template team and you go, double Arsenal defense. Do I really need double Arsenal defense? Can I go double Arsenal attack instead? Something like that, slightly differently. You still get your triple Arsenal players. You can get one defender. So that's where you kind of make your you make your educated guesses and have different players in. The same thing with, you see Salah here, but we don't have any other Liverpool players here in the template. Oh, you have Darwin. Now Darwin, do we know his minutes are going to be assured now? Maybe not, because Jota is back, Diaz is in the form of his life. Gakpo is also doing pretty well whenever he gets chances. So maybe you go, okay, I don't get Darwin. Maybe I play a single game week. I could play Haaland on a free hit. That's not a bad idea, to be honest. You can have Salah, and then you can get someone else slightly different from the template for a Liverpool player point of view. So those are like the small things that you make. You don't have to go fully complete opposite of the template. As we've seen this season, it's just like those one or two players that you get, and if they go big, you're laughing, because everyone's kind of like still compact.
It's exactly what the similar thing I said in the free hit 29. A lot of people would have had Son. A lot of people would have had whoever else, Madison, right? But not many people had Son and Madison in the free hit. So you're right. Like something crazy. Like what about triple Arsenal defense? Like Raya, White, or Saliba, White, and Gabriel, because there's not really a lot of good defensive options, because clean sheet odds are so high for Arsenal that forego their attack and just focus on triple defense. And like you said, double Liverpool or triple Liverpool attack and don't look at the defense. Just something to give you that edge. So you have to go crazy, but just look for a way to sort of tweak the odds.
Yeah, even like you can go double Arsenal defense. You don't have to go Gabriel and Saliba. You can go Gabriel and White, and that is a one player different, and they might still be a defender, but White has more potential attacking threat as well.
Yeah,
from a wing.
that's who I have, Gabriel and White. Yeah. Lucian, any points before we move on?
Well, I mean, I agree with Ryan in the sense that you look at this lineup and you ask yourself, who do I feel will not do well? And I think the obvious answer is Son, right? That's a very big one. I think I am looking at this more in terms of what I foresee they would do over the next few weeks, because yes, there are people who want to free hit, and the rest of the majority remaining. I have this feeling we are probably in the more tiki taka zone where we're just trying to survive this week and then attack the doubles when they arrive. So, whoever that's wildcarding together with me immediately after this game week, yeah, this advice is for you. Um, don't sweat too much of it. Have fun this particular week, and you don't have to go super safe, because you can look at the players here, right? I mean, two Arsenal, two Liverpool, 1.5 Bournemouth. Well, two Bournemouth plus Wolves players, really, if you look at it. And that's about it, right? Everyone on average is going to have 6 double game week players. So if you're sitting on the same 6, especially if you have 3 Arsenal players, then yeah, I don't see any particular threat, especially if your single game week players are like Isak, you know? So yeah, I really just would say play safe, or sorry, have fun this week. Pick whatever flair pick you want, and then stick to the plan, and bench boost in 37 where appropriate.
Yeah, cool. So are we going to move on to 34 and beyond? So on the screen, I believe this is done by fixture difficulty order. The fixture list on here, I think it's from Fantasy Football Scout. It looks familiar, this one. Has Newcastle and Chelsea at the top, United there as well. I mean, all basically as well, you've got to take into account that those with doubles, despite the fixtures, will automatically be placed higher up on the fixture difficulty chart because they literally have an extra game to get something from. So, for example, who doesn't have a... So Spurs have 2 doubles. This is the thing. Like, if you can risk not having Spurs, which I don't think you can because they've got 2 doubles, but they're all the way down sort of mid-table, and they've got 2 more fixtures. 1 more, sorry, because they blank in 34. But Wolves is down there as well, and they do have a double. So maybe the Altnuri defender owners might look to move him on after this game week. I'm thinking that way about Liverpool anyway. But let's just look at the direct future. So this is something that Tim pointed towards about what Mez made about some popular player picks. I already said when I was looking through the list, making the free hit draft, I think these are sort of the key ones. And there's just too much. I mean, I love Palace. They were on my bench boost in game week 1. They absolutely saved me. I know I had Etse from his 6.5 to like 6 million downfall. I was like, he was so high in the charts and doing all of this, but it just wasn't paying off. But you know, him and Elise, very popular double act, finally fit again together. And when they're on the pitch, they're just so nice to watch. Even individually, when one of them's fit, they're great. But there's it's just like just reminds me of a Son and Kane link, right? It just reminds me of the vibes of two players who just get each other on the football pitch. So it's if I was free hitting this week, and they are in like the draft that I made, I would be looking at that. Absolutely, for sure, would be looking at my only worry there would be fitness, because that is an issue. But anyone in here that you guys want to specifically point out from this list? They're all main.
They all make sense. I guess if you want like Tarkowski / Mikalenko, but even then, I don't know if you want to go too much into Everton's defense without knowing what's happening to Branthwaite. But yeah.
Chen, any points that you want to make? Yep.
Yeah, I guess it does show that there's gonna be a free hit template for sure, right? Obviously there'll be a few differences, around the edges, but the core players will be the same, which is fine, by the way. The free hit itself is already a differential, and then maybe have 6-7 players that is the same as everybody else, and then you've got 3 or 4 that he can be slightly different, and then it's all about the combination as well. Like I think the free hit is something like it's similar to the blind, right? You just have obviously a lot more options to pick from, but eventually you still pick players from teams that are based on how you think the games will go. Right, so if you think that a team's gonna score a lot of goals, then you prioritize attacks, and if you think a team's gonna keep a clean sheet, then you prioritize the defense. In a way, a lot of stats and underlying data and all that can go out of the window, because anything can happen in a single game, and then you just basically just go with what you think is the most likely to happen. And then looking at this, it does help the non-free hit teams as well. See who you've got. The kind of like the cover picks that you think most free hit teams will have. So if you have them, that's great. If you don't, maybe thinking about bringing them in, and then as Lucian said, if you want to have some fun and have some flair, then maybe identify core template player and say, I don't like that, I want something else, then you try to attack it that way. But it's good to know what the field's gonna look like, more or less, and then try to play around depending on what your goals are, I guess. It's 20% of the season left, right, in one game week. So yeah.
Well, on the screen now, I've put the draft on. So this draft is 90. Now, I'm not saying I know we have different opinions on things like algorithms and expected points and all that lot, but just from a purely analytical point of view, this is like a 97% rating on Plan FPL. I just picked like the ones that were the most popular with the highest points potential. which is obviously taken from things like form and whatever algorithms, like maybe like goal scoring odds and clean sheet odds from betting companies and stuff like that, right? So it's got Pickford in goal, Gabriel and White with Munoz, the Crystal Palace defender, and then you've got Salah, Saka, Diaz, Eze, Elise, and Solanke and Darwin up front. So it's double Arsenal defence, triple Liverpool attack, double Palace midfield, and then one Palace defender and one Arsenal midfielder with Solanke up front and Pickford in goal, basically. This is obviously done mainly on things like fixtures and clean sheet and goal scoring odds as well. So I'll let Ryan do the points that he's going to do on the side. But again, like I said, for me, I've got a lot of these players, which is why I wildcarded in 31 anyway, and I'm basically just betting against... I've got the Palace goalkeeper, which covers the Palace defender. I'm just basically betting here against Palace attackers and Bournemouth, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But because people who are not free hitting will have Man City players to rival those two games for Crystal Palace, which after the Champions League isn't great because it's 120 minutes and they're out. On the other hand, because they're out of the Champions League, surely now they've got to just focus on the Premier League because that's the big one, right? That's the one that they can only rotate a certain amount. So that's basically it. So Ryan, you want to talk about some points that you made on the side?
Yeah, I guess similar to what we mentioned in the top 10k template discussion, it's very similar to that. You look at this free hit team and you go, what can I go against? So like depending on like your rank list, again, double Arsenal defense or double Arsenal attack. That's one possibility. Even in double Arsenal defense, we have Gabriel and White here. You could go something else slightly differently. That's also possible. You can go one centre back, one goalkeeper if you wanted to as well. Same thing with like Liverpool. There's Liverpool triple attack here. You could go one Liverpool defender and double Liverpool attack if you wanted to. You could even go... You don't even have to go the same triple Liverpool attack. You could try and take a pick on maybe a Jota if you wanted to like risk it. That's a possibility as well. Cunha and Mateta are not in here. They're also pretty decent options. Cunha with a slightly one extra tougher fixture, which is why he's probably not on here because points potential is not as high. And then obviously people aren't talking about Sheffield United. Now, we like to look at Sheffield United and go, oh, they're a pretty bad team. They're bottom of the table, blah, 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 blah. But one of the games is against Burnley, who are also bottom right there. And the other game is against Manchester United, who in the last 6 game weeks are basically the worst defense in the league.
The only ones I didn't add on here was for Liverpool defender was Trent. And that's because I just used like... unknown if he's going to start, and obviously budget as well. Like this isn't a free hit, isn't unlimited. Like you can do whatever the hell you want. You've got to be, within a budget. You can't just have all the top players, right? It doesn't work like that. You're right. Wolves were not as high compared to like Palace, Liverpool, Arsenal, Bournemouth, and Everton. They're like because of Arsenal. Basically, that's what has obviously bumped their points down. So this isn't just like my free hit opinion. This was, like I said, done based on what all the stats
but the models and everything predict. Yeah, that makes sense. And then obviously, again, like I said, Sheffield United, there are options there because they're like even though they may be a bad
because they were down. I just thought Sheffield United. No,
the models will never put them up there. But if you take it into context of who they're actually playing. And if you look at the teams they're playing, the defenses aren't great. If you look at it on like their form. On paper, the models would be like, oh, Sheffield United don't really have a chance. So they won't put them up there. But if you're someone who's chasing rank and you need trying to win mini leagues or trying to close down mini leagues and all of that, you need to take these punts that the models aren't going to show you because the models are going to give you basically the template or where the hive mind of FPL, where it's going is what the models are kind of going to show you. So they both go hand in hand effectively. You need to go outside the box and pick certain outside the box players, which are the other like the ones we've been talking about at the moment. And then obviously it's single game because we've already spoke about Isak, Watkins, Haaland, all golden boot chasing. Palmer, golden boot chasing. Bruno against Sheffield United is also not a bad shout. We've seen the whole last game week. Single game week players. If anything this season has told us is that double game weeks can be overrated and the single game week players have done significantly well in those double game weeks. So
That's
keep that in mind.
honestly what has killed me, has been trying to attack every double, and the single game week quality players have absolutely smashed me. And you're right about Sheffield United. They've got Man United and Burnley. They've got the worst, statistically poorest defence in the Premier League, and Burnley.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. I
Yeah,
will put
I
a
know.
bit on
I'm just saying. The worst statistically the worst defense in the Premier League by a country mile, and Burnley. So two fixtures where, if you're looking at, I know Diaz is the popular one, but look, it's one. And when I was making this, like, you could not have Elise and put Brereton Diaz in there. Strikers, I wouldn't. I think Darwin, Solanke, or even Cunha, they're higher than a Sheffield United striker. But a Diaz as your final 11th man isn't the craziest choice. But again, if you're free hitting with a Sheffield United player, any player, and I'm got my team and I'm playing a Foden or a Palmer or whatever, I'm not worried about it. Right? Like, I understand the risk, but Sheffield United is so bad that you're just looking at a 3-4 pointer.
Yeah, but then the team they're playing as well is also equally bad. That's
True.
the thing. That's the difference.
Yeah, it's very true. Just before I move on to Tien, who is playing a free hit here? No, we're all out. We're all out, right? But
Well,
who's got a wild card left?
All three of us.
Lucian's got a wild card too.
Yeah, sorry, I have a wild card,
Okay,
please.
so I'm done, right? I did it in 31, but I was going to do what you guys were going to do and dead end to 35, right? And then bring probably a load of doublers in and do it that way. Anyone with a bench boost left, Ryan?
Yeah, I have a bench boost left.
So you're
I don't
going to
have
bench boost
Lucian.
37, I imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good. So just such a chip roundup, but none of us are free hitting, but I think that just goes to show we weren't that worried about, I think, 34 after all. So, Tien, what's your thoughts on the 34 and the draft and just in general and the double?
Yeah, so as I said, I mean, the draft will generally pick itself if you want to go, template. I think at the end of the day, if you are playing the free hit, you just ask yourself, what do you really want to do? Like, what's your current rank is, and what you're trying to aim for. Because picking the template team is not going to get you anywhere. There's only a few game weeks left. Let's say if you are 200 or 300k at the moment, and you want to be in the top 50k, for example, that's a big target, right? Going template is not going to get you there.
No, it's
So
not.
it's not gonna get you very far. So you gotta think like, let's go for the sun. Really go for it. And whatever happened, like, you go down to 500k. I mean, 200k, 200k, 500k, same thing. Doesn't make any difference. Or maybe you just purely play for the mini league, right? You just look at the, who is in front of you that you want to chase, see what they're doing. If they're free hitting, maybe they'll be templatey because they are leading. Then once again, you try to sort of predict that and do differently. If you are in a good position, you are leading your mini league and you want to defend yourself, then of course, go template. So yes, I think it just comes down to really what you want to achieve, and how you play to achieve that, and just take a gamble. Really, there's only a few game weeks left, and there's nothing to lose. I mean, everyone's gonna lose. There's only one winner at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, just think about what your aim is and go for it. And then I've got some very attentive audience in like they really looking to
Yeah.
my advice for free hit.
We're looking
They're
now.
smiling,
We're
so.
going to go over to the real brains behind Teacher FPL HQ. He's just the face, but the brains are there next to him. So, Lucian, your thoughts on Game Week for free hit 34?
Well, guys, it's Papa's turn to talk. Okay. Free 34 is nice. Like, I'm actually helping a few people with doing their free hits in 34, and it's adventurous in the sense that because it's technically the biggest double game week of the season, right? In terms of the number of teams. You look at it, right? And it's a really nice set of home fixtures in particular. I think maybe home fixtures are something that I feel people don't talk about enough. And for me, I feel that if we look for okay, enough. If we look for a differential that will perform in these double game weeks, it's highly likely going to be one of those goalkeepers that will make an insane amount of saves in one of the difficult games. Because I think Crystal Palace aside, there are no teams that have two good fixtures where you go, this guy is banked for 2 times 10. I think this season's double game weeks in particular are these guys, Papa's talking. This season's double game weeks in particular. Okay, that's it. Out, 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 out. This season's double game weeks in particular just aren't falling right for us to get 25 points. Unlike Marcus Rashford against Leeds and somebody 2 seasons back, and Salah against Leeds and somebody, right? We just don't have those fixtures falling for us now, and the same is unlikely to happen in 37 anyway. So we'll just have to be content with nailing as many 15 pointers as possible, and that's how we get our monster haul. So really we'll have to be choosing our players very carefully, in the sense that if we can nail a full 11 of players that can get 15s everywhere, that's it. We are set. And that's exactly what free hit 34 is designed for. Okay, I think she's done. So she's laughing and mocking me now, so I have to stop.
You must have seen our rank. He's there, like, what are you guys talking about? Your rank's terrible. Just a question that K7's put in. He said, like, no one's talking about bench boost 34 because no content creators are doing it. I mean, we're doing free hit 34, and none of us are doing that. So just a quick point then for K7's about bench boost 34. I think the simple answer for this is there's just more options in 37. Like, if you've got a bench boost now, you'll be bench boosting a lot more single game week players. You'd be basically just benching single game week players and bench boosting. But in 37, a lot of people are going to wildcard and bench boost. That they'll just have like a full 15 of double game weekers. So I think it's just better games, but also more double game week fixtures. Therefore, that's why people are not really talking about bench boost 34. I don't think it's a bad option. Depends on the team that you've got. But yeah, Tien, you have a point about that?
Yeah, no. So obviously, there's a very good reason why bench boost 34 is not popular. But my son is bench boosting because I recommended him to wildcard last game week, prepare for the bench boost this game week, and then obviously just free transfer the rest of the season. So I think to be able to bench boost in 34, you had to be, to have been preparing for it. Either you wildcarded in 31, 32, 33, and it kind of like been preparing for it. Been a bit tricky though, because you got injuries to like Ait Nuri, Semenyo, and the like, and now even Haaland is flagged as well. So obviously it might or may not work out. But if that's the route that you've chosen, then I think you can go for it, because. But yeah, if you got some decent, so my son's team has some decent like single game week players like obviously got Haaland and Foden, Palmer, and Garnacho as well. Like playing Sheffield United. So not a bad option on the bench at all. Now, obviously, there's a couple of yellow flag players already, but just hoping that they will be fit and play. I think he's going to go ahead with the plan and go for it. There was a world where if your team was set up in a way that you didn't wildcard, and you have a decent bench boost team this game week, and then you wildcarding in 35, I will say go for it as well. It'll be extremely rare, but if that's how your team looks like, then I think that's a very good play. You bench boost and then you wildcarding out of it. rather than wildcarding into it, because then the wildcard just need to focus on the starting 11 instead of the the bench. But it need to be a very, very good team, because as Rob said, every wildcard 35 and benchable 37 will have 15 double gaming players, and your 34 team will need to be really, really, really well set up to compete with that.
Yeah, one thing I'll add is, I guess when we're talking about free hits, we don't talk about just 11 players. We're talking about slightly more than 11 players. So if you're looking at a bench boost, you can obviously add the players that we're talking about as well as part of like a bench boost. It's a bit harder to actually talk about a specific, this is who you should have on your bench, because it's very squad dependent. But if you take the players that we're talking about on a free hit, and if you already have them in your bench as well, even like the single game, because we mentioned here, then it's like not a bad option to actually play your bench boost.
Okay. Any more points you guys have about bench boost or game week 34?
Yeah, just a quick one for me. Papa speaking now. For Bench Boost 34, I think the biggest issue here is that there are a few single game week players that are on form that just happen to have less than auspicious fixtures. Gordon, Isak, Palmer, on any other day with players on this sort of form, you'd be like, yes, I gladly have them on the bench boost, But Palmer's playing Arsenal and Isak's away to Crystal
Palace, yeah.
Palace. Yeah, and that for me is really what dampens it. But for me, the toughest part, Eden, the toughest part is picking the goalkeeper. I have absolutely no idea who my two goalkeepers would be if I were to play bench boost this week. Like, even if you told me get Sa and Henderson, I look at you and go, wow, that is out there. I don't know what to do after I bench boost, because I don't know whether I want to hold a Palace and a Wolves keeper all the way to the end of the season. So that's probably the biggest challenge in that respect.
I've got Henderson and Edison. And then I'll maybe get Son in. Maybe I'm actually, my mission by the end of the season is see how many Sons I can get into my team. I think. Where the hell's that bird sound just come from? There's a bird in here. So yeah. I lost all my train of thought there. I just had a bird like really close to my head. Like I don't know how. It wasn't you, was it? So. As for 34, I don't think I've got any more points, but just going on beyond, I think personally, I'm going to be going off Liverpool. That's going to be my gamble for the rest of the season. That's going to be my gamble for the rest of the season, to maybe sell Salah. Might even look at things like Haaland again, because it's with just focus on the league. I think it's going to come down to Arsenal and Man City. But yeah, I think going into the end of the season, I think it's just going to be loading up on Newcastle and maybe Spurs and just going for it that way. I think that's the plan for my future. But I mean, we could go through your wild cards. I think you guys are wild carding next week, I imagine. All three of you wild carding next week. So yeah, so it'll be kind of a situation where we look at your wildcard drafts next week, and for me it'll be like, how are you going against me, or how am I going to combat you guys who are all wildcarding, right? So I think that'll be quite a good one. So I think
so Rob, just because you are all out, right, in terms of your chips, right? So what's your transfer plan this week? What do you bring?
Rich, because I didn't have to. I wouldn't have had to do anything. But just I've got red flags all the time. Like my team, it's Richards. Like, he has to go. Like I got him on my 31 wild card. The deadline passed, and then just before kickoff, I've been told he's out injured till game week 35, which is absolutely useless for me because I would have had him for 34 and before. So. It has to be him. He's my free transfer. And then I've just got to choose between Foden and Palmer, who I'm going to start. I'm happy with my team. I've got 1, 2, 3. If I include Richards and Semenyo, I would have had 9 doublers. I would have had 9 with Foden and Isak as my single game week players. That's who I would have had, and I was happy with that team against people who didn't free hit in 29, and I was happy with it. But Richards to maybe a different Palace defender, because I've got Henderson. I like the idea of the double up, or maybe Al-Nuri, or I might just forego this double game week and bring in a Spurs player and just bench them and just have Guardiola or Burn play for me.
It is not a bad option playing Guardiola this week, to be honest. Because I also have Brantford. I think Kian also probably has Brantford, and we're like kind of waiting to see what actually is going to happen with Brantford. And I've got Rico Lewis on my bench. And I am not against actually like playing Rico Lewis instead of like taking a hit to actually sell Brantford.
That's what I don't. Oh, that's it. I could take a hit and do 2 transfers, but I just don't feel it. I just think taking hits now is just going to keep pushing me further back. So just forego getting a doubler for this game, because I said there's no defenders I want. I've got the Arsenal, and I'm not bothered about Liverpool defenders. There's no one else except for Palace, but I've got the goalkeeper. And after this game week, I don't want them, so I might as well just get like a Spurs, Porro, or a Doggy and bench them for this game week, and then bang, I've got another double. So it's 6 and 1, half a dozen of the other, right? It's either I have a double this game week or I have a double next week. It's the same amount of fixtures. So yeah. Any more points before captaincy? Because captaincy is a killer for me this year, really is. Apart from attacking the doubles, I don't think I can't remember the last time I captained the best player in my team. I don't know. Even if we take Palmer out of it, it's like if it's Son, Salah, or Haaland, I've definitely captained the wrong one, like every time. So yeah, captaincy thoughts, guys. It's on Salah for me at the minute because it's Salah. I still believe he can come good, but to be honest, he's looked awful. He's not looked good whatsoever. He doesn't look like he's. I mean, let's be fair. Against Crystal Palace, on another day, Liverpool would have scored 5. Like, Jones missed an absolute sitter 1-on-1. Salah had like 2 massive blocks against him. On another day, they go in. You know, so I'm not too worried about Salah, but anyone else? Because Man City don't have a double, right? So then you're looking at Liverpool and Arsenal. Arsenal's attack, especially Saka, has done like nothing in several game weeks. Liverpool still have the best attack, but do you trust Darwin to have the minutes with how it is? I'm not too sure. So for me, I'm only looking at Salah. I don't know, unless you want to go crazy with like a Bournemouth pick, or an Arsenal defender.
Eze is going to be a popular option.
You think?
Yeah,
I just think it'd be
I think it's going to be quite popular.
a drop in the ocean,
But I think
though, right?
Salah's going to be the most popular.
Yeah.
I think for sure. But yeah, I think quite a few people will probably be tempted by Eze.
So I'm looking for someone different. I don't think I'll go Salah. Purely because I have to like chase mini leagues, and me going Salah is not going to actually help anything in terms of me trying to close down mini leagues. I was looking at Saka because Arsenal are the next one, but Saka's form hasn't been great. If I had a Havertz, I might have been very tempted to play on Havertz. I have Odegaard, and to be honest, watching Arsenal in the last couple of game weeks, he has kind of been their stand-up player. The only problem is he's doing the hockey assist or the assist instead of ended up on the end of the goals. So that's the one slight issue, but he's probably been one of their best players. So I'm okay to own him. But captaincy, yeah, I don't know. I think everyone's going to go Salah, and I think this is one of those weeks that I want to try and take the risk. And maybe I might just captain, because Saka's fixtures aren't too bad. I know Arsenal looked bad, and Saka himself has come under a lot of criticism and hasn't looked the best, but he is a penalty taker end of the day. So Arsenal have it in them to now fully focus. They have to focus on the league. They have nothing else to play for. So I don't even think I need to worry too much about rotation. So I might go there probably on Saka.
I just can't wait for Watkins to be the highest point scorer this week. Single game week. Most people don't have him on the free hit. Like it's just written in the stars. Chen, who are you back in this week for captaincy?
Yeah, I don't like Salah at all. I don't know why, but yeah, it's like 2 away fixture. His form looks it's been bad, and
It's
yeah,
not
it
the
just look
easiest away
off.
fixtures as well.
It's yeah, it
That's the
just
thing.
look off it. So yeah, I don't like him at all. But yeah, I'm not sure.
This is why I don't
Not
think
even
this
sure
this
who
this
who I'm
this double
bringing
game
in.
week's that good, is it? I don't even think this double game week's that good. This
No,
is
there's no
so
standout
weird. We've
option.
got
Yeah.
Liverpool and Arsenal doubling, and it's just like
They're
I
in the
mean,
worst form they could be in. That's the
that's
problem.
why I really like the Erdegaard shout because Wolves and Chelsea is pretty good, but
Yeah, if he if
I'm not
he if he
sold
if
on
he gets
Salah.
the goals, I would have gone Odegaard. Problem is he's doing that hockey assist, so he's dictating play for Arsenal right now. Like if you watch even the last Aston Villa game, I feel like they lost because they took him off because he was dictating play in that Aston Villa game.
Yeah.
So the only problem is you need that confidence in your captaincy as well. Like this is where you need to have a trust in your captaincy, and I I have never captained Odegaard before, so I don't know if I have that trust.
Well, for me, I think
I have,
Havertz
and
is.
it
I
and it
think
wasn't right.
Havertz is the one.
I don't
I
know him.
honest-
If I had him, I would have put the arm around him. Yes.
If you're free hitting, I think Havertz is the one. I think Havertz is the best shout. He's been in the best form in midfielder who plays as the central attacker, you know. But who knows it? This season just sucks. Seriously, just sucks because it doesn't matter. Saka's off form, Haaland's off form, Salah's off form. They're all going to score hat tricks this week and just smash everyone who's gone against them with reason. Because that's what this game does. Finally, Lucian, what are your final thoughts on your captain?
Okay, I'm gonna start with a personal note. Because I have a relatively attacking team, I will have a defensive captain.
That doesn't make sense. Yes.
Because I, for one, have bought Trent Alexander-Arnold this week.
Oh,
Trent,
that'd be nice
yeah,
when he plays one of the two games.
yeah, I'm fairly certain he will get 1.5. Fairly certain.
Well, Bradley being out.
Especially
Bradley being out helps.
yes, Bradley out, and watching Trent's performance against Crystal Palace, I think they will be desperate to push him into that central midfield role to push his creativity up, especially from deeper areas. Like you watch
Yeah.
that last 10 minutes of the Palace game, and you know Liverpool are going to be up in the Merseyside derby, and what was the second game?
That is the
That is
second
the second
game.
game.
Yeah, and
Fulham
Fulham,
is
yeah,
Fulham.
right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Liverpool's away games are going to be difficult, and I actually feel that it's not going to be a score fest. So, in that sense, if a penalty settles it, and you can get, I don't know, 13 points from Salah, 10 plus 2, 10 plus 3 over the double game week, that's like job done. And I, for one, struggle to see somebody who will get more than 13 points across 2 games. Really, so that's why I'm just going, if I don't see anybody that's going to get 20 points, I might as well just captain the guy who I know for sure is going to get like 10 to 13 points anyway. I don't see it as that much of a difference. So I'd rather, as Rob said, right? He's struggling to find a third defender. I'm sitting on double Arsenal and Trent. I'm like, yes, I'm pretty happy with that. So
Just would have liked
yeah,
more minutes in his legs, but I envisage maybe but look, it's not going in at right back. He could go in basically where Endo was. But maybe he's not quite match ready yet, but we'll see. Maybe he'll get a little bit of a run out tonight in the pretty, let's be honest, dead rubber game that they have. Give him half an hour in that just to double check that he's good to go and maybe do it that way. But I think that's it for this game week. Any final points you guys want to share?
Just enjoy the game week. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, try. In this
Trust in that.
horrid game we call Fantasy Premier League, try and have some fun.
I just want to say, right, as well, that like it's the middle of April. The game's gonna be done in a month,
Fine.
and realistically, like a month in real life passes really, really quickly, despite all the planning, despite all the engagement. And I think, honestly, as soon as the final game in May takes place, there's barely any conversation between anybody at all. So I would like to say, like, we're in this final 4 weeks of the season. I think it's a good time, right? Like, once you have your strategy set, since there are so few variables left, City, Arsenal, all out of the Champions League, Liverpool likely as well, just take stock in the people who have shared the hard times with you. In the fraudulent double game weeks, in the agony of team leaks, in the debate of everything farcical towards the start of the season with VAR and everything. Like, we've all been through a lot of, yeah, right. My daughter covered my mouth at the perfect time together. So we've been through a lot together, and I'm grateful for it. So yes, do take stock and say thank you to the people who have mattered over the last 6 months, 8 months.
I'm already looking forward to next season, to be honest. Like, I'm already just like, this season done. I'm like this every season. I'm like, I've learned so much. I'll never make these mistakes again. And I'll be sat here in a year's time, 900k. I've taken 5 8-point hits in a row. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Done it again. See you next season. But that's just the way it is. So yeah, that's it. So thanks for joining us, guys. So next week will be quite a big one, I imagine, because 3 of the 4 of us are going to be wildcarding, and 2 people will be bench boosting soon. So I need to find a way to stop them. So I'll be on the no chip team against everyone else again next week. So yeah, that's it. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you all next time. Take care. Bye bye.